About a year ago, we started on a timber stand improvement project here on our property, and it's time to check in on the results. Howdy folks, my name's Reagan. Welcome back to the GWP Homestead. We live on about 10 acres here in western Kentucky, and of that 10 acres, 3 or 4 of those are wooded. Most of those woods are dominated by trees that I will deem less desirable. Sweet gum, hackberry, a lot of privet, which is an invasive species to our area, as well as a few locust trees that I just don't really want to have around. If I'm able to thin some of those trees out, it will allow the more desirable trees, oaks, persimmons, hickory, or black walnut maybe, it will allow those trees to thrive and also improve the habitat for our native wildlife like deer, turkey, and quail by giving more natural cover to those animals. Now, so far on this TSI project, the main method that we've been using to terminate the trees that we don't want anymore is called the hack and squirt technique. With the hack and squirt technique, you take a hatchet and chop into the cambium layer of the tree. The cambium layer is about the outermost 1 inch of the tree, and that's the part of the tree that actually transmits nutrients up and down the tree trunk. By applying a herbicide to that area, we're able to kill that tree standing without having to fell it, leaving that tree to break down naturally over time. Now, here in the last year, we've seen quite a bit of change in the trees that we've been targeting. Here you can see why we're doing this project. We have a lot of growth. Now, all this stuff down here is pretty good for native wildlife. It provides small animals cover. Even though it's a mess for us to walk through, they don't mind because it's a defense against predators. But when you look up, this is still very, very covered, and not very much sunlight gets down here to the forest floor. Here's our hack mark. This tree is a very small tree. We're talking maybe 2 inches in diameter. So one chop into this, applying some herbicide. I use Tordon RTU, but it's more important to use a herbicide that's particularly effective against the tree species you're targeting. But you can see this tree's dead. We're still here in the early part of September. There should be leaves. You can see all the other trees have leaves on them. This tree's dead, and so are these that we also targeted. You see these trees right here are growing up in bunches, but we've got hack marks along there on some of those trees, a few of those others. This tree's not entirely dead, but it is definitely not healthy. And the same thing here. We worked on those trees and didn't necessarily work on the tree beside it. I've got a big old black locust tree in there too that I need to get at and see how it did. Tordon's effective against black locust. They have those big long thorns that are just nasty. It's one of those, and we'll go find it. Now, here's another pair of trees. These are most likely coming out of one root system, or even if they didn't start out as one root system, those roots are grafted together now. So this is one tree for all intents and purposes, even though you see 2 trunks going up. This tree is absolutely dead. It was some variety of maple, as best I could tell. Now, maples aren't necessarily a bad tree, even though I'm not entirely sure which variety of maple this is. But in the middle of my field, if it's not an oak, I don't really want to have it, and even then I'm very particular about my oaks and where they're located. But this tree, as well as its neighbor right there, didn't serve me any purpose. Let's get them out of here. This goldenrod out here is chest deep. You see where something comes out here and beds down. We don't put any of our livestock in this very small field up here. I would love to get in here and do a prescribed burn on all this, but look at all of the goldenrod and other wildflowers that we have. This is, I mean, it's beautiful. This place is buzzing with bees. This is fantastic. And question of the day, what's living in that hole? You think it's a groundhog? What else could it be? Put your best guess down in the comments. One thing I try to do anytime I go into the woods is bring a roll of marker tape. I like pink because I'm colorblind, and pink really stands out against green to me. This tree behind me is some variety of oak, I'm pretty sure. I thought it was a white oak. This doesn't really look like a white oak leaf to me anymore. And I don't see any acorns, but it still looks like an oak. I'm gonna go ahead and mark it. And that way I know, hey, this is a good tree. We don't wanna knock it down. We don't wanna cut it. We don't wanna kill it. We wanna preserve this for our native wildlife. You see, there's a chop with some fungus growth in there. Another one right there on the tree beside it. Now again, we live on close to 10 acres, and one of our goals for our property is to grow and harvest as much of our own food on this farm as we can. The more we can improve our wildlife habitat means more opportunities to put food in our freezer. I think my son would be happy to see this is still a deer superhighway, so it appears. All right, here's my locust tree that I was targeting. You can see I've got hack marks there, all around these 3 main trunk lines, I guess. These all 3 sprouted out of one stump again. And maybe at some point somebody could have taken a chainsaw and cut this tree off and not treated it, and these are 3 sprouts that grew up and basically grew together as you went up. And there's a lot of daylight coming through where there's no canopy on this tree anymore. I mean, look, that is just nasty. We don't want to deal with that. I don't want that in a tractor. I don't want it in my boot. I don't want it in a kid's foot. No, that tree, it's a native tree, but for my small property, and especially around the edge of a field where I'm going to be driving a tractor, I don't want it. Here are a few more. There. These are inside more of a closed canopy area. And some of these larger trees I haven't even tried to deal with. It's not worth it right now. So why would you use the hack and squirt method as opposed to girdling the tree with a chainsaw? I've liked using the hack and squirt technique because it's very, very simple. Hatchet, herbicide, and you just walk through the woods. I don't have to carry a chainsaw around with me, a file, gas, bar and chain oil. It's very easy just to carry a bottle of herbicide and a hatchet into the woods. Now the hack and squirt method is only effective in late summer time of year. Now here in Kentucky, that's from about late July until the leaves start changing color, which could be anywhere from mid-October to a little bit later on. Girdling or even double girdling the tree is effective year-round. So if it's not in that particular season, girdling would be a great technique. Both of those methods kill the tree while it's standing instead of having to fell the tree and treat the stump. Cutting a tree down with a chainsaw doesn't actually kill it, as the root system is still very much alive. And most of the time when you just cut a tree down in the woods and leave it alone, it's going to stump sprout and you'll have more of a problem and more of a mess than what you started off with. Of course, if you treat the stump with a herbicide, it will kill that stump and prevent resprouting. So why wouldn't you just cut the tree down, treat the stump, and be done with it? There are a couple of reasons why I don't prefer to do that. For me, it's easier to kill the tree standing and move on with my day rather than felling it and having to deal with what's left over. And if I came through here and clear cut all of this, I would have all these tree trunks, unless I, hacked them all up for firewood. I have all that stuff to deal with, which is not actually improving habitat until those trees break down. This way I can kill those trees standing, and that way they die and they don't compete my desirable trees up here in the woods. If you've ever heard the expression, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, knowing how to use more than one technique to improve your timber stand is very valuable. So whether that involves the hack and squirt method, girdling a tree, or just clear cutting, everything has a time and a place. Up here on top of the hill, it's still very closed off, and I have a lot more work to do to get this. This is not bad, but I could do a lot better. There's not much food up here for wildlife, even though we do have a big pasture of my neighbor's place right there. There's more down there. Thinning this out and allowing more sunlight to get down here to the forest floor is going to be an improvement. And down that way, we have some more oaks, and I have a nice grove of persimmons that you know what, let's go check on them. This is another area that I just can't wait to get with prescribed fire. If I could clear all this leaf litter up off the floor, everything is going to explode. All right, let's see if the deer have left us any persimmons. All right, there's a small persimmon. A few more down here. Boy, the deer have already been working on these. They've cleared me out. It doesn't surprise me, but wow. I'm sure as soon as those persimmons started hitting the ground, they were just swarming this area. I'm trying to remember if I worked on this tree or not. This may have been dead already. I know there were a few more back here. Like this one. Dead. Yep, got quite a few. I love seeing that sunlight coming down. I've said it several times already, I know, but that sunlight hitting the floor is just good for everything. One last thing to be mindful of, if you do use a hack and squirt technique anywhere, maybe in an area that is a little more sensitive, like a fence row, you do need to be careful, because those trees will come down and they will make a mess. Like here by my gate, where this is just, I got to get down here with a chainsaw, but it's been in the dead of summer, been a heat wave and a drought. I just don't want to get out here and fool with a chainsaw right now. So we'll be fixing that up soon. In a situation like that, it probably would be better just to go ahead and cut that tree down. But you know what? The hack and squirt technique, it does work, and I'm very pleased with the results. But as you can see, we do have a lot more work to do. So if you want to stay up to date with that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. We do a lot around here, and we'd love to have you along for it. So until next time, my name's Reagan. This is the GWP Homestead. See y'all soon.